Welcome everybody. So thrilled that you are here for this brief webinar on Juniper Training here at CBT Nuggets. We wanted to fill you in on the latest information about Juniper and CBT Nuggets. It's a great marriage, and we're going to tell you all about it in this particular presentation. Now, it dawned on me as I was preparing this presentation that you might have this thought. Wait a minute, why would I be interested in Juniper certification to begin with? Well, I really think that you can dramatically increase your value if you add Juniper training and maybe even Juniper certifications to your expertise. You know, so many individuals out there are like myself, right, that has the CCIE designation, the Internet Work Expert designation from Cisco Systems, and they might become extremely one-dimensional. And I want to make sure that does not happen to you, because these technologies today don't exist in a vacuum. When you look at data centers today, you're going to see Cisco equipment, Juniper equipment, Palo Alto equipment, F5 equipment. You're going to see all these different vendors' stuff in your data center, and I think it's very important for us to really expand our skill set so that when we enter these environments, we don't feel pigeonholed into, oh, okay, well, show me the Cisco equipment because that's all I know how to support. Also keep in mind that Juniper has a large portion of the market share across many of the disciplines that we're interested in. So when we look at routing and switching, they've got a good foothold there. When we look at security, when we look at virtualization, so Juniper is expanding into the various markets just as Cisco is, and they are sharing large pieces of the overall pie, so it's important for us to consider Juniper training. Also, a lot of times these days when we want to add particular service or technologies, we might find that one vendor is better in an area than another vendor. So we might see Juniper being introduced into certain niches of our infrastructure because of new technologies they've been able to roll out. It's great if we're Juniper ready. There is a fast track available to this certification that I'm going to share with you. I think you're going to really love this. And another reason why you might want to consider adding Juniper to your training portfolio is you're going to find it's a lot of fun. Especially if you come from a Cisco background, it's just so incredibly entertaining to see exactly how Juniper solves many of the same problems that Cisco has solved just using a different approach. I mean, it really is super fun, especially when you come from the Cisco background, as I alluded to. Let's begin by taking a look at the world of Juniper certification. So what we first see, let me get my drawing tools because I want to highlight some things here. When we first look at this particular chart, a lot of information here, I want you to notice that they broke this up into three main categories. There's the planning or designing, there's the actual building of the stuff, and then there's the operating of the stuff. There is actually a fourth area not shown on this particular chart. It's products and technologies. So please keep that in mind. There is a fourth area, and these are specialized certifications for specialized products or particular technologies. Cisco does this same thing, right? Cisco will have product specialized certifications that you can obtain to demonstrate that you are at a proficiency level for a particular product. We won't get into what these are today, but I just wanted you to be aware of the fact that they do indeed exist. So we have our design track, our engineer or building track, and our support specialist track. As you might guess, by far the most popular is this middle column of building, and you notice something when you look at this, that there is service provider, there's enterprise route switch, and there's Junos security. So there are three tracks within this area of the certification environment. And just like Cisco does, we have associate. They call theirs something different at this level, a specialist, then a professional, and then an expert. So the different tracks with the different degrees of certification. Be back with you. So we have our 3 tracks, and we have those various levels of certification. Do you notice something interesting? There is a clear-cut starting point for your Juniper certification. I love that they did this. It's the JNCIA Junos training. And this starting point launches you into your world of, let's say, service provider or enterprise routing and switching or Junos security. So this is a great starting point for us when we want to master Juniper technologies and when we're interested in certification. We addressed this head on for you at CBT Nuggets. Let me show you instead of tell you. So what we're doing right now is we are going to go up to the CBT Nuggets website. And there at the website, we are going to see that we have Juniper training for you, especially that key first step. So how would you find it? Well, you could certainly go, when you go to courses at our website, you can certainly go to IT Path, and you could go into Network Administration and Engineering, and this is a networking level 1 course, and you could find it that way. You could go by trainer, or of course, you could go by vendor. So whatever path you choose, you're going to find your Juniper cert. By the way, probably the best way to do it, though, is why not just go to this magnifying glass here and do JNCIA as a search term, and that will bring you right to our Juniper JNCIA Junos. JN0102 is the number of the exam. That's why we have that there. And here you can see the course that we have for you. This training course has been getting, the nuggets inside it have been getting 5-star reviews. So I'm really thrilled about how this training course has been received by our audiences. I did something super special in here too. In the Nugget Lab files I have for you, and the Nugget Lab files are located right here in the course page, I have for you for this course flashcards that cover the material in every single one of the nuggets that are in this course. This is one of the reasons why I currently am boasting a 100% success rate in the JNCIA Junos certification exam. 100% success rate. Haven't had one of my students not pass in their first attempt. And many of them are saying that the flashcards are a key ingredient to that success. Matter of fact, let's see if I have them handy. Oh, look at this. This is a total coincidence, by the way. I just do happen to have them sitting on this desktop. Let me quickly demonstrate those for you. Just one moment. And obviously, this was so well received, the flashcards, that I am starting to do them for all of my courses. But the JNCIA, the Juno certification was the first one where I unveiled this. So all we have to do is go in here to this deck, and this is free software from Anki that you can use with this, and you just step through, running through these flashcards, and, you know, gauging yourself. How many broadcast domains does a Juniper Layer 2 switch create by default? The answer is 1. And if you really knew that and that was easy for you, you click this easy button, and that will shuffle that card appropriately in the deck. So this is intelligent flashcard software pre-populated with flashcards that I wrote. And something that's really killer is, if you wanted to add to my flashcards as you're going through the nuggets and as you're studying, that is very easy for you to do as well. So really cool value add that we've got inside this particular starting point for your Juniper certification. Now, Juan's got a great question in the chat, and he says, in Cisco terms, what is JN0102 equivalent to then? What an awesome question. It's really equivalent to the CCNA. Yeah, it's really equivalent to the CCNA. In fact, now that I think more deeply about this, Juan, I would say it's really more equivalent to the CCENT. Yeah, I would say it's much more like the CCENT certification. Either way, though, I've got great news for you. If you are CCENT or CCNA certified, you can really do what I call a fast track to this certification. Absolutely you can. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to slide over right now to my blog site, ajsnetworking.com, because I've got a resource on that blog that you are absolutely going to love. So here we are at ajsnetworking.com. I'm going to do a search on JNCIA and how about CCENT, or I could have done a search on CCNA here with JNCIA. We're going to be brought to an article that is in my Juniper category. So if you're interested in checking this out after the webinar today, if you scroll down, you'll see I have a category of the blog dedicated to Juniper. Inside there, we see this document, CCENT or CCNA to JNCIA Junos, no problem. What I list here for you is the nuggets that you need to view if you are a current CCNA or CCENT. So notice we start at nugget 1, we go to nugget 2, then we jump up to nugget 10. We can skip all those nuggets that I don't have listed there because you are already a CCENT or a CCNA. Now, if those skills of yours haven't been, dusted off, polished up in a while, certainly I would recommend, when in doubt, just go through all of the nuggets of the JNCIA Junos track here. I mean, obviously, right? But if you're a super strong, maybe you're a super strong, super recent CCENT or CCNA, by all means use this document I have for you to gauge your training for this new, incredibly valuable certification that you are adding to your portfolio. Now, is CBT Nuggets committed to Juniper? It's a valid question. And the answer is yes. And one of the reasons why is because I'm here now and I am committed to Juniper. So I've got this course done. So let me check this off. This course is complete. This is my next course. As you might guess, we'll be following that up with the JNCIS Enterprise and the service provider. So we're going to be working through these tracks so that you are being armed with the education that you need as you move further with your Juniper experience and potentially as you move further through the Juniper certification lifecycle. So very, very exciting news. In fact, we've got questions now. How far are you going to go with these tracks? We're really hoping to do them all. Absolutely. And of course, I have other expert trainers that I can bring into this, like Keith Barker and Jeremy Chara, and all these guys that are well versed in both Cisco and Juniper to help out. So we're just going to keep on trucking when it comes to these certification classes. As a matter of fact, what you can do as far as courses that I'm developing for you, you can get specifics on that always at my blog. So if you go to my blog and you go under the news category, in the news category, one of the things I'm always sharing is what I'm working on and what's coming up. So here's a post, recent post on upcoming CBT Nugget courses from Anthony Sequeira. You can see currently in my queue is CCNA Cloud. That's Cloud Fundamentals from Cisco. That's being done right now. Like right when I hang up on this call, I'm going to go over and make another nugget. There's CCDA from Cisco. That is just really exciting. Cisco has been so lax in updating their Cisco Certified Design Associate certification. They finally did. So we're all over that like drool on a baby. And then we've got CCNA Cloud, the second course for that, that's Introducing Cisco Cloud Administration. That will go very quick. And then you can see JNCIS Sec is next. So you can track the progress on this course development via my blog as well. Just head to that news category. Now, it occurred to me that I've probably got many here that are looking at this and they're saying, boy, you know, I really have never even logged in to a Juniper device before. So I wonder what that experience would be like and how different would that experience be. So I wanted to share a little bit about what that is like with you right now. I think it's going to excite you if you have never logged into a Juniper device before. I think it's going to intrigue you if you have a lot of experience with, let's say, Cisco systems. So here you can see I've made a console connection to my Juniper device. I hit the carriage return, and it gives me this really funny looking prompt, right? It says, okay, root, and then the @ symbol and a percentage sign. This is telling us that we are in with an account called root. So we are logged in with the root account. And you immediately start thinking about Linux, probably Unix, when you hear this word root in this account called root. And sure enough, that's what we are dealing with. As a matter of fact, this prompt tells us that not only are we logged in as the root user account, but it also tells us that we are at what we call the Unix shell. Now, there is troubleshooting and verifications that you can do at this shell, so that's cool. For instance, we could easily see all of the processes that are running on the router. In fact, I'll show you that in just a sec. But what's interesting here is that we don't do the bulk of our troubleshooting, and we don't do configuration other than some really interesting configurations. But the majority of what we would consider configuring the router is done in other operational modes. But first, we have our Unix shell. Notice here I've done in the Unix shell a listing of all of the processes that are running on this particular device. One of them is like the SMTP daemon for simple mail transfer protocol, for instance. You can see, if you were to look in here, that there's an NSD. This is a key networking service. So you can see the services that are running, HTTP. But notice that I type the command CLI. And when I type the command CLI, I am placed in the operational mode on the particular device. So CLI takes us from this prompt to this prompt, the greater than prompt. And now we can see we're in the operational mode. And here in the operational mode, we like to do verification commands. We have a context-sensitive help system, just like we do in Cisco. So I do show interfaces question mark, and I get the context-sensitive display of those particular interfaces on this device that we can further scrutinize. So you notice it's feeling very familiar. It's different in many ways, but very familiar in other ways. Now, we want to make configuration changes to this device. So we enter in the keyword configure, and we go into what many call configuration mode. Interestingly enough, we could also enter the word edit, and that would bring us to the exact same pound prompt, which tells us we're in configuration mode. And your longtime Juniper engineers will often refer to configuration mode as edit mode. Yeah, they call it edit mode because that's the command they're using as an alternative to configure in order to enter that particular mode. We go in and we make configuration changes to different portions of our configuration hierarchy. So watch this. I've gone into the configuration or edit mode, and then I say I want to edit this particular interface. And it shows us that we are now in that particular position in the hierarchy. Now we can make changes to the physical aspects of that particular interface. If we want to make changes to the logical aspects of that interface, we enter the appropriate family on that physical interface. So here you can see I am setting a family of IPv4 called INET, and we are setting an address on that particular interface. So we notice here that while things are similar to Cisco systems, we can clearly see they're quite different. Yeah, I mean, it's different enough where our training is going to help you dramatically with the learning curve when you're coming from one environment to another. Just as a quick reminder or review, when we're configuring an interface in the Cisco world, we would do everything, the logical and the physical configuration for that under one mode, and that's interface configuration mode. Here, we have this different approach where we go in the configuration hierarchy for the physical interface, and this is unique from our logical configuration where we're setting that on a particular family in the configuration. Pretty cool stuff. Now, when you have experimented on your Juniper device, like here, let's walk through these commands. I am in the operational mode, then I go into the configure mode, then I edit the system and enter that portion of the hierarchy. Then once I'm in the system, I change the host name on the device, and then I exit from the system config of the hierarchy. Then I exit from the entire configuration, and notice what it says. It says, all right, you have a candidate configuration, but you don't have an active configuration change. We make our candidate configuration active by doing what's called committing it. So we perform a commit on our configuration changes in order for them to have the long-term effect that we are looking for. So I just wanted to give you a feel, if you have never logged into a Juniper device, for what that would be like and the particular commands and activities that you are performing in that Juniper world. As we move to our Q&A portion here at today's event, I did want to point out some additional contact information for me that you might be interested in. For instance, I mentioned my blog at ajsnetworking.com. There's my Twitter handle, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, and a big reminder that we do have great CBT Nugget communities that are available on Google+. So you'll see me hanging out in those communities a lot as well. So I have a couple of questions in here in the queue. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. Caesar says, I am JNCIA and JNCIS security with inactive status. What should I do to keep my certification? Well, I think what you can do if you've gone inactive is you should just run through a couple of the JNCIA nuggets that we have for you, and I think it would be very, very easy for you to go and pass that new exam and reinstitute your status. So definitely consider that. A question here, what's your suggestion for engineers that don't have access to Juniper equipment but only Cisco? How about GNS3? Great question. So there is a Junos image that allows you to run inside of GNS3, and that's called Olive. So check out Olive, which would allow you to emulate the Juniper operating system inside of GNS3. I did not do that. I didn't do it because I just ran up to eBay, like I love to do with Cisco, and I purchased some used Juniper equipment and set it up in the lab very inexpensively. So that was the route that I took, but if you want to play with Olive, I highly recommend it, and I've seen videos on YouTube of Olive functioning, and that would be a great way for you to attack that entry level. So, and we've got a link here that is Keith Barker actually doing a demo of Juniper and the Olive product inside GNS3. That's great. So Keith has a video on his YouTube area that covers that. Here's a great question. Does the JNCIE exam have labs? The answer is no. So what happens in your JNCIA exam is you are shown exhibits. And based on those exhibits, you must answer multiple choice questions, so no simulation labs in the exam. The JNCIA 102 is inexpensive, Marshall, relatively inexpensive compared to our other certification areas. It was from 75 US to like 125 US. It was in that range. So it wasn't like $400 or anything like we get into with some of the other certification exams, which is so frustrating. To check the exact cost of the JNCIA-102, to check the exact cost, just head up to Pearson VUE and pretend you're scheduling it. Just go right through and pretend you're scheduling it, and at some phase they'll give you the cost, and then you can just bail out of that particular pursuit. Great question here. What textbook should we use to prepare for the JNCIA exam? Awesome, awesome question. All you need is my course and my flashcards. If you want to go further, though, and I highly recommend you do that, absolutely. If you want to go deeper, if you want to go further, there is excellent PDFs that Juniper makes available under their Fast Track program. They're free downloads. You just got to register for a free account on Juniper, and they're these great PDFs that go along with the course. So grab those. If you're interested in real big, thick textbooks on Juniper, then I highly recommend O'Reilly. O'Reilly is kind of Juniper's publisher of choice. So check out the excellent O'Reilly books covering Juniper. The one that's considered like the just gospel when it comes to Juniper certs is Junos Enterprise Routing. So the Junos Enterprise Routing title is a great one from O'Reilly. Let's see. Someone just pointed out that there's an SRX 100H on eBay for around $100. So yes, the resale equipment on eBay can be extremely affordable for those of us that want to set up labs. Here's a great question. Obviously, both are preferable. However, for someone who is starting in their IT career, currently going after A+, Network+, Security+, what certification would you recommend? JNCIA or CCENT? Well, both are wonderful. Like you pointed out, both are complementary. You can achieve both by studying the same material. Like there's tremendous overlap, as I alluded to in this presentation. I would say, though, if you only had to pick one, you would go with the guidance of your prospective employer, right? You know, if you're talking to someone that you want to employ you and they're like, yeah, we're 80% Juniper, we got about 20% Cisco gear, well, then you'd go down the Juniper path, wouldn't you? Yep. If that's flip-flop, if they're like, yeah, we're mostly Cisco, we got some Juniper, then you would want to slant the CCNA route. So talk to your prospective employers as you're making that decision if you are in a one or the other situation. But like I said, I would highly recommend that you do both.
On behalf of all of us here, we want to thank you again for joining us. We're glad that we were able to spend some time with you today. Just a reminder, we will be having a recording posted to our blog, blog.cbtnuggets.com, here shortly in the next couple of days. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.